How's everyone going? My name is Mittens, and today we're going to be talking about Iron Finance and their relaunch, and why I think you should be staying the hell away from this token. Now, the following is not financial advice, okay? We're all just, autistic man children sitting in mum's basement, eating the McDonald's Happy Meal because it came with the free party hat and the chicken tendies. Yeah, if you want real financial advice, right, don't get it from a cat. You should find somebody who's wearing a lab coat in the third floor ivory tower basement, who's qualified to do that. Okay, so not financial advice. Do not buy this token. Okay, and we're going to go over what this relaunch was and why I think it is scary as hell and you should not be buying into this relaunch token at all, ever. And that that the tokenomics are even worse than the first version, and we'll cover why. I'll get straight into it. So this project has launched about 12 hours ago, a little bit more now. So this is their pinned tweet. Relaunch. They've locked in $1 billion worth of value. That sounds really good. When they launched this token, the Polygon network crashed because people were so excited about buying in. I was there with a bot to buy the token, the second it dropped. And I'm connected to the Infura nodes, which are generally like the best thing that you can be doing other than running a full node yourself. And I just couldn't, no transactions were getting through. It doesn't matter if I was trying to buy, sell 1 gas, 10 gas, 1,000 gas. Yeah, the Polygon network just fell over. That's how popular it was. Now, let's just take a look at what the site looks like. So you can see here, it's the initial launch was with this stable farm. So the idea behind this is that if you want to swap between, for example, US dollar coins and Tether, you can get a very good exchange rate. I have to connect my wallet here in order to do this. But the idea is that it's very low slippage, and so it's a way to convert between different stable coins for a low fee. Yeah, and that's quite a reasonable thing to be doing. It's what Curve Finance built their empire out of. And then in order to incentivize people to provide liquidity for this stablecoin swapping, right, because the fees are very low, normally there's not much money in providing liquidity for a project like that, they incentivize farms. So if you deposit your iron stable 3 pool USD, you get rewarded with ICE. And you can see that they're not lying about that $1 billion. They have $1.4 billion in total value locked. And so this all seems really good. Their launch was a massive success, crashed the network, and they've got $1 billion in 12 hours. How could this go tits up? Okay. So first, let's look at their roadmap. Right, this is, there used to be some more information here, but it's still archived on their Twitter. But they launched the token 4th of July, yesterday. IronSwap went live as planned, and then in the next few days they're going to have governance staking and all these other features. Sounds wonderful, chicken tendies to the moon, whatever. We can see that the price action. So initially the price was, here, and then it spiked up with that interest, and then it's gradually been going down. Now my prediction is that this is going to go, that the economics for this token are awful, and this is going to drop to basically zero. We can see that their previous launch, Titan, this is what they were doing before relaunching. And you can see here on January the 16th, these guys had a very healthy correction of minus 100%. Yeah, so I guess we don't have time to cover Titan, but this wasn't a hack or a rug pull. Essentially, it was just a failure of the tokenomics. Using their partially collateralized stablecoin IAM, it would print you any amount of Titan in order to get that 25 cents that wasn't collateralized by US dollar coins. And so that led to a very quick death spiral where you could just buy iron below the $1 price and then sell it for 75 cents of USDC as well as 25 cents of Titan at whatever price Titan was. And then you could sell the Titan to buy more iron and keep doing the loop until the price went to 0. Right. So let's go over the tokens. So I've got a lot of tabs that I want to cover here. Oh, and that's because we're not a regular cat anymore. This is not a good project, and so we're going to be a judgment cat here. Yeah, and we're going to change this to. We are very angry. Okay. So one of the first problems with this token, again, I was one of those people with a bot ready to buy the second it launched. And the second that it launched, I started panicking because things weren't as they said. So their initial schedule is that in the morning, the website was going to be updated. Wonderful, that happened. At 1 p.m. UTC, they were going to launch this stable farm. And then at 2 p.m. UTC, they were going to launch these liquidity pools, ICE and US dollars on DeFin, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. And then the ICE Ethereum farm at Firebird Finance. Now already that's weird. Like that, the problem with this is that the farm launches before the liquidity is available on these apps. Right, that's a problem because only the very first person who provides liquidity to these apps gets to set the price. And so if you have people able to farm tokens and then potentially sell them on these farms, they're the ones who are going to be able to set the price. They have $1,000, let's say, in this stable farm. They very quickly farm 0.01 ICE. They harvest that, and then they create the farm at DeFi or Firebird. They create the farm at whatever ratio they want. Right? Normally you would have these flipped, where at 1 p.m. UTC, they would, because they're the only ones with the tokens at this point, they create the farms, they set the initial price, and then they let people buy some tokens, and then at 2 p.m. UTC, that's when they launch the farm. And so already this was unusual. Like perhaps I thought that they were going to enable the farms, but you couldn't harvest any of the tokens for an hour. But why would you do that? Because, then you can't, why have this hour lock? Anyway, that doesn't matter because the farms actually went live at 12:39 UTC. This is the very first transaction where this is the admin. So this is from, the person that it's from is the Iron Finance deployer. So this isn't some random idiot. This is the Iron Finance deployer adding liquidity, and he did it at 12:39 p.m., which isn't at any of these times, and so already that's concerning. And then we can see the second big problem here. Look at this. The amount this is a project with $1 billion locked, 12 hours in. Yeah, and we can look at the tokenomics quickly. If I can find the tab, sorry. Let's look at the token. See, the initial tokenomics is supposed to be iron swap $1 billion for the 3 stables pool, sure, and then $500 million for the other ICE liquidity pairs, right? And they've got a 10 billion cap, hard cap, okay, max supply in 3 years. There's no indication of what's going to be the initial liquidity. I assume that it was going to be 0.5 billion, maybe. But we can see here that the initial liquidity was only 50,000 tokens and $500. Right, the initial pool was 50,000 iron tokens, ICE tokens, and $500 in USDC. Are you kidding? This is $1 billion project, and their initial farm is $500 worth of liquidity. Already, this is a recipe for a train wreck, right? And now to give them, we've got to give them the benefit of the doubt here. There is more to this story. This was only the DeFi LP pool. They did add another $500, folks, to the Firebird liquidity pool. right? So the total initial liquidity was 100,000 tokens out of 10 billion. Was that the initial? Sorry, I've got so many tabs here. I wanted to get this video out quickly because I think the price is going to crash, fairly soon. Yeah, 10 billion cap, and the initial supply was 100,000 and $1,000 worth. That is just absurd. Okay, the second problem, so I can close these tabs, is the name of this token, ICE. Ticker ICE. If these guys had done any research at all, they would have known that this name was already taken essentially by Popsicle Finance. These guys have the ticker ICE. Right, now this isn't a gigantic project, but they launched March the 2nd on Binance Smart Chain, and I think Mainnet as well. And these guys have got, millions of dollars in liquidity locked. And so you're supposed to, as part of your project, do some due diligence to make sure that you don't accidentally, have a collision with a different project and take their name. And this is why BNB, by the way, is named BNB. They were going to name it Binance Coin, BNC, but that was already taken by Bancor, I think the project was. And so they renamed it to BNB so there wasn't this clash. Right, this is $1 billion project, and they didn't do basic due diligence to understand that they had a name clash with this other project that had launched. So already this is scary as hell. $1,000. And then this 100,000 initial supply looks even more insane, because if we go to these initial farms, this is how much ICE they're emitting per day, right? There's 900,000 ICE per day for the stablecoin farm, 200,000 for the Firebird farm, and 200,000 for the Define farm. This is, 14 times the initial liquidity in one day. It's mind-blowing how stupid this is. Okay, and we are not done with how, I don't think that this is, is this intentionally stupid? It just seems unfathomable that somebody could be this dumb. But it gets worse, because we see that this initial liquidity tokens, very quickly after this initial liquidity is set, it gets transferred. So it goes from the Iron Finance deployer, the official deployer account here, to this random address. And I'm assuming that this is some sort of dev address. Yeah, so he just transfers the liquidity to some other address. And now that isn't good. And then we can see that, well, what does this address go to? It looks like it's a dev address. It's not, this looks like, personal trading activity, right? And you can see that in these transactions, the dev was, first in the farms essentially, and the stablecoin farms, and they've just started cashing out. The second that this project went live, they've just started cashing out US dollars. Right, we see, we'll go to this transaction. Right, this was at a few hours after the farm launched, and they interact with a contract here. So it's not just a sell, and they cash out $40,000, a few hours after the project launches. And then a few hours later, they cash out another $4,000. Right, then they cash out another $10,000. And then they cash out another $500, another $1,500. So this dev wallet is dumping on you. And we can see that over the course of 12 hours that they've locked this $1 billion in liquidity, the dev has dumped $80,000 worth of ICE coins. And so the Timmies that have bought this ICE token are getting taken to Pound Town here. Okay. So now that we are in a bear market or a crab market or a consolidation period, whatever you want to call it, these sort of farms are essentially zero sum, right? There's not new people coming into the ecosystem, not at a great rate. And there's not much value being generated by this project. Like the value of this stable swap is people swapping stable coins, and there's a tiny little fee attached to that. That's really the only fundamentals of this project. And so they're generating, millions of dollars worth of tokens per day in value though. And so because this is a zero-sum farm, where does that value come from? And the answer is, well, it comes from, they're printing ice. And so it comes from people who hold ice. Yeah, as this ice gets printed, they're going to sell the ice, to cash in those gains when the price is, still above zero. And so the price of ice is going to go down. And so the Timmies that are getting hosed here are those that have bought into ice, and they're maybe putting it in this farm, looking at 11,000% APR and going, wow, even if the price of my token goes down a bit, I'm going to double my money like every single day. No is the answer to that. The tokenomics are terrible, right? 100,000 initial liquidity, more than a million tokens printed per day. And these people who have the stable coins, they're not interacting with the ICE ecosystem at all, really, right? There's $1.4 billion in stable coins here, and they're all generating ICE at 100% APY at the moment. Again, this is going to go down because the price will crash. And these are risk-averse people, right? Because they're farming using stable coins. And the value of these stable coins don't change. That's why they're stable coins. And so what they're going to do is farm some rewards and then dump the rewards. Yeah. Then the price of ice is going to go down. The Timmies get taken to Pound Town. And then these guys just keep farming and keep dumping. There's no buy pressure in this ecosystem at all except for Timmies, right? There's $1 million worth of ice per day in sell pressure. And so the price is just going to go through the floor because nobody wants to buy this token. Who wants to buy a token where like over half of the tokens generated per day are just going to be sold by people farming stablecoins? Right? There's no point in holding ice. Yeah, you farm it with your stablecoins and then dump it on the idiots who bought the shit coin. And so that's why I think that this ICE token, the economics are awful, and that the token is very quickly going to go to zero, and all the Timmies that bought into ICE are just going to have their money taken from them. And we can see that in one day, like 100,000 initial, right? Oh, sorry. I clicked a button there. We're already up to almost 1 million ICE tokens. And that's reflected in the price, right? It just keeps going down. Okay, I think I'm getting done here. I've passed a judgment on this awful project, in my opinion. The initial tokenomics here, only 100,000 was awful. There was no guidance from the Discord or the Telegram what the initial price was going to be. I also missed, I'll see if I can find it very quickly, that like one person, a bot, or maybe even, I guess I won't say it's a dev, but a bot managed to buy half of this, a quarter of the circulating supply the instant it went live. I'm not sure if it's going to be here. Oh yes, here we go, the thread by John. Okay, 1 billion locked. Yep, so you get rewarded in ICE. Yeah, he's saying, here's the transaction. Oh, we haven't talked about this. Yeah. So I actually have that here. So another thing is that the reason why this isn't going to be Titan 2.0 is that their tokenomics say that the price has a max supply of 1 billion, and that is a hard cap. There's not going to be any hyperinflation because there's a maximum supply. But let's look at that contract as John did, and I'm just kind of reiterating his words here. So if we go to the read contract, we can see that the max total supply is 10 billion. Yeah, a reminder that you've got to subtract 18 zeros from that because the token has 18 zeros for one token. You know what I mean. Okay, so we go to the contract and we can see that the devs can just set a new cap for this. Right? If they decide that they want 100 billion tokens or 1 trillion tokens, they can just set a new cap. And I'm sure the devs would say, aha, but this contract isn't owned by us. We've renounced the ownership and the owner is now a time lock. Okay, so this is the owner. I guess we'll, so it's, 18BF03 is the owner here. And we can see that this contract is 18BF03. So this is the owner of that contract, and this is a time lock contract. And so what a time lock means is that you can't instantly make changes. You have to make changes on a delay, which is supposed to give people, if the admins want to make a nefarious bad change like doubling the total supply, then people can see that that has been queued up in the time lock, and then let people know on Twitter or Discord or whatever that there's this bad change happening, and then people can get out before the change goes through. And so it's, a strong incentive for the dev not to do anything nefarious. Right? And this is what the code does. But we can also see a problem here, because the time lock minimum delay is 1 hour, which is again absurd. It means that, there's a time lock here, but an hour isn't enough for anybody to notice that the transaction's being queued up, let alone enough time for people to get out if there's a bad transaction queued. Right, we can see that the admin of this is also just some guy. Like, I'm guessing that this is an admin. We can see that he sent money perhaps to the Iron Finance deployer. So he sent the Iron Finance deployer 1 Matic, presumably to pay for transaction. So this is again just a dev. But this isn't a tagged or known account. It's just somebody, and you can see that they've been buying and selling Titan and Iron as well. So that's all I've got. This project is a train wreck. I don't think they've learned any lessons from their previous train wreck Titan. There are a whole bunch of problems with the tokenomics and just the general economics, particularly with this huge volume, this huge sell volume just from low risk people staking their stable coins. The admins have, been dumping on you from behind the scenes. And that's just one account that I found. I'm not sure. There are probably others that have also been dumping their ice on you. And this token, in my opinion, is going to go to 0 very quickly. You should not buy this token. Not financial advice. We're all, kitty cats who are very angry or whatever. That's all I had. Please be safe out there. Please do not buy into this project. And by the time this video gets published, I wouldn't be surprised if this token is at nothing. All right, see you later. See you next video. Let me know in the comments. Bookmark me in your Netscape navigator. If you like the video, slide your TikTok into my DMs. I don't know how it works. See you next time.